Good afternoon. This is Dr. Beebe again with another podcast episode of Dr. Beebe in the Middle. And today we're going to talk seriously, frankly, about how to have a conversation with a white supremacist like you mean it. Now, in order for us to have these conversations, we need to get past some obstacles. And some of those obstacles are we can get a better understanding of them, and I'm going to recommend two books to you. If you haven't already picked up a copy of Robin DiAngelo's White Fragility, I suggest you do so. And then also there's Black Fatigue: How Racism Erodes the Mind, Body, and Spirit by Mary Frances Winters. So the reason that Black people, brown people, queer people, anyone who has ever been oppressed is so fatigued is because there's been too much attention paid to white feelings, white fragility. And so let's talk about Karens, for example. In a conversation with a group of people the other day that I collaborate with on a regular basis, I made a mention of Karens, and I was told really quickly, well, BB, that's offensive. You shouldn't call people Karens. And I said, well, why is that offensive? Well, because that's racist too. Black people have been called a whole lot worse than Karen throughout my lifetime. I've been subjected to quite a little bit, because of the lighter tone of my skin and the straighter texture of my hair. People sometimes say things in front of me that they probably would not say if my skin was a little darker and my hair wasn't maybe as straight as it is. And so I have had the experience of being the fly on the wall. It's an uncomfortable place to be. And that's exactly what I was thinking when that fly was on top of Mike Pence's head at the debate the other night, was that's been me my whole life, that fly on the top of some racist head. And so I've spent quite a bit of my adult years digging into the heads of racist ideologies. And you know what? I've decided that I'm tired of trying to figure these fools out. So I definitely don't care about their feelings. And so what we're going to work on here, and I hope that you join me, is working together to know how to address these what used to be called microaggressions. They're not micro anymore, honey. They are macro. They are in your face every single day. I was talking to my college students the other night, and I was talking about the threat and the plan to kidnap the governor of Michigan by this white militia group. And my students hadn't heard anything about that. And there were a few times over the summer when I was teaching my summer classes that yet another Black man would be killed, and I would go to class and I'd say, guys, do we need to talk about this? And they wouldn't know. And at first I was like, how can you not know? And then I realized in talking that they avoid the news. They avoid listening to anything that's going to further degrade them and make them feel less than human. Another thing that is going to take away hope. And as hard as that is, and I definitely understand it, because I have to tell you that after 9/11, I didn't watch live television for, God, probably 6 or 7 years, I would not watch a live broadcast. And when Barack Obama was president, I would not watch our president speak live because I was so terrified something would happen to him and that I would be witness to it. And it would be an image that I'd never get out of my head. I lived in that fear. And every single day we live in that fear in this country that somebody that we love who has darker skin is going to go out there and they're not going to come back home. And so guess what? We keep our mouths shut because we're afraid of what's going to happen. That's what fear does. And this goes all the way back to Jim Crow. And let me tell you, one of the Jim Crow laws was that Black people do not show emotion in front of white people. White people are uncomfortable with the emotion that Black people show because, you see, that is a reminder of their humanity. That is a reminder that this is a human being standing here in front of me. This is a reminder that this is not a thing. This is a human being. So why should we have to apologize for feeling anger? Why do we have to apologize for vandalism and burning down buildings? Now, I'm going to get to that in just a moment, so don't please for a second thinking that I am saying that's okay. It's not okay, but it's understandable. Because what I ask those white supremacists when I encounter them for a conversation and they want to throw that, well, they are burning down businesses, I say, do you understand that Black people have lived in fear for years of having our homes, churches, and businesses burned? Not because white people felt rage or had been pushed too far, not out of grief because someone that they loved had been brutally beaten or killed and that the justice system wasn't there for them. No. Black churches, Black homes, and Black buildings have been burned just as in such a cavalier manner as a Sunday picnic. These burnings were planned. Or sometimes maybe they weren't planned, but there was no rage involved. Let's go burn down some Negro houses or churches. So we have to put this in its proper perspective. So there are no apologies. There should be no apologies from Black people. But we do have to do better. We have to stop giving them the ammunition they crave to prove their white supremacist agenda. All right? So, again, we have to stop giving them the ammunition they crave to prove their white supremacist agenda. Now, I have to tell you that Black people don't have to be violent. They don't have to commit crimes for white people to find a reason to hate them. No. A Black person can be walking down the street, can make a joke, can smile, and a white supremacist is going to have something negative to think or say about that. I go back to the anger that erupted when Barack Obama won the nomination from the Democratic Party. I go back to that. I go back to his first speeches and thinking to myself, oh my God, this man, he's literally, I thought he's like a Messiah. This is what we need in this country. But then I noticed that something was happening around me and that white people were getting uncomfortable. And I remembered back to my teachings of my students and reading the works of Frederick Douglass. And I had said, if Frederick Douglass, if we had had Twitter back in the day when Frederick Douglass was speaking and writing, we would have had some white supremacist tweeting, he didn't really write that. He didn't really say that. That's what people were saying about Barack Obama. That's what people were saying about his book, that he didn't write that. All you've got to do is listen to him speak, and you know that the words in his book are the words that came from that beautiful mind and that flowed from that very, very intelligent mouth. But they don't want to hear that, you see, because you see, intelligence also reminds them that Black people are human. And one of the things that I just recently said to a group of people that I was having a debate with over this issue was that the most violent act that a Black person can take to unsettle a white supremacist is an act of intellect. An act of intellect is the most frightening thing that can happen. Invent something. Start a company. Start your own podcast. Write a book. Become a stand-up comic. And stand up for what you know to be right. Take care of your community. Take care of your family. Take care of them knowing that that's not just something that we say or something that we do. We're literally taking care of our families. Back in the early sitcom days, you learned all you knew about families, right, from these white families. And the most that a white mama ever had to worry about if her baby boy went out and got into an accident was whether the little bastard had on clean underwear or not. That became kind of a cliche. Well, Black mamas have a whole hell of a lot more than that to worry about. Every time their sons and daughters go out, every time their husbands, their fathers, their brothers, their uncles, their friends, their colleagues, their neighbors go out. So we have to support one another. Right now there's a political divide, and my mind is constantly blown hearing people, Black people, talk about why they're not going to vote for Joe Biden. Why they're not going to vote for Kamala Harris. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Who is telling you this? It's 2020. It's not against the law for you to know how to read. It's not against the law for you to speak up. It is not against the law anymore for you to think for yourself. Stop this shit. Stop this bowing and scraping. Learn and know what you're talking about before you decide that you want to create division. I'm not saying that Joe Biden is perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but I know that he has a heart and he has a soul. Early voting starts in my hometown of Atlanta, Georgia, tomorrow. And you better know that I am going to be out there voting. I don't think that I will be able to close my eyes tomorrow night if I do not vote tomorrow, even though I have days and days and days and days ahead of me before the official election day. But this is something that I know. If something happens to me before I can cast my vote, I want to know that I have prevented that because my vote counts. That's how much it counts to me, is that if something were to happen to me to prevent me from voting, that means that I have probably been instrumental in taking somebody else's privilege or right away from them. Every single vote counts. That's how important it is to me. I've got a lot of stuff to do and I don't have any plans on dying. But I know that I'm going to vote at my first opportunity. Just like I live my life taking every single opportunity that it gives to me. And that's what this podcast is all about. I ought to be living the life of Riley, as my mother used to say, right now, because I'm not teaching full time anymore. Not high school. I basically teach a full load at college. I'm working mostly out of my house except for the days that I'm at the college. But do you think that I am living a life of leisure? Oh, I got my nice stuff. You betcha. I do. But I can't rest. And I've got the time to invest in this movement. So, what do? We support one another. We love one another. We stop apologizing for being of color, being black, brown, or beige like me. And above all, we stop forgiving white supremacists for being white supremacists. We do not forgive slavery. We do not forgive lynchings. We do not forgive rapings. We do not forgive white supremacist behaviors and ideologies, nor do we make allowances. There are no allowances. Be intellectually violent. Be intellectually violent. Be emotionally violent. Cry. Scream. Rend your clothing. Be out loud. Be. That is the only way that we're going to get through this together, is for us to be unafraid, to be supportive of one another, to be in love with one another, and for us to be unapologetic. This is Dr. BB, and I will be signing out now because I promise never to take up too much of your time. But I hope that I have filled enough of space inside your head today that you can take it out there and you can feel my words and that you can share my words and that you leave me a message. You can find me on all my social media. Tell me what you want to talk about. Tell me what's hurting you. And I will be here every Sunday afternoon at 2 p.m. I hope that you support one another and that you love one another and that you have a wonderful week ahead. And I will see you because I do see you. And I will speak with you. I'm speaking with you, not to you, and not at you, next Sunday afternoon. This is BB, and I'm out.